Hey, it's your buddy Tim Schill, and we are back doing another Raid Shadow Legends video. And I was lucky enough to pick up a sacred shard from a clan boss run, ran it, and picked up the fusion. So now I get to keep all the epics from the fusion, and I get the Joe Dirt of Dwarf Faction War. And so we're going to give this guy a spin, take a look at his kit, talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and yeah, see if this guy has any place in any of our teams. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so we are in the midst of this fusion, and I was able to pull a sacred shard from a clan boss event and got to pull him. So pretty cool. One of the things that's kind of a bummer is Polarium gives access to test servers. So some of the folks on the internet and YouTube get to show these guys without actually pulling them, and then those of us plebes that are trying to sort of earn our stripes and make our way in this world have to wait to actually pull him to do a champion spotlight. So I did pull him, and I was able to build him out. And now we're going to talk about old Joe Dirt. I don't know if you remember that movie, but he had the same haircut as Hurndig does here. So pretty cool champ. The animations are amazing. The artwork is amazing. He yeah, he holds a hammer, but he like launches rockets from it or something. It's pretty crazy. Anyhow, interesting champ. You can see his stats over here. He has pretty good HP. Not wonderful, but pretty good for an attack-based champion. Attack is decent. Defense is decent. Speed is decent for a dwarf. And then you get all the dwarf stuff with the resist and accuracy stuff. Because he is a bit stat hungry in that he needs kind of a little bit of everything. And he also needs a bunch of books. 15 of them to be exact. 15 books he needs. And you have to kind of decide what you want. He does hit hard, but he's also one of the few debuffers in the dwarf faction. So you kind of have to decide what you want to do with him. And I'll show you what I did, and we can talk about if that's good or bad or neither. All right, so let's take a look at my Hurndig and how I built him. And here he is here. So I decided I wanted him for my debuffer. Now the problem is, so I wanted him with speed and good accuracy, which I got. And then because he does do some really good damage, I wanted also to try to get as much damage as I could on him. He really needs 100% crit, and then either big damage stats or big accuracy debuffing stats. And I decided to kind of split the baby and did a little bit of everything. So you'll be able to see if that works out or not. Boy, my camera is not acting well here. Anywho, okay, so let's look at him. So masteries, I think pretty typical. I went to try to get some damage, and then accuracy basically was it. And then his skills, he's got this A1 that gives him an extra turn if he gets a kill on it. And then he attacks all enemies and lands his decreased defense and his decreased accuracy buff. Basically 100% chance of that. Also does some damage, and that's on a 3-turn cooldown. And then this is a sort of interesting, right? He'll attack one enemy and fully deplete the turn meter. He will also attack all enemies if the first attack is critical. So you got to get crit rate on him, right? Because you want him to attack everybody. The AoE has a 70% chance to place it in weaken, so he can do defense down and weaken, and also place an HP burn debuff after the attack of the enemies whose turn meters are below 30%. So a lot of sort of interesting, odd events that happen with that skill, but it works out pretty good. And then his passive is he'll fill his turn meter every time he gets hit. That doesn't, it's worded terribly. It doesn't happen every time he's hit. It happens once per turn, basically, if he's hit. Okay, so let's look. The first thing I think is pretty cool about him is he could be a campaign farmer. He does pretty well in in Brutal 12-3. And I'm going to slow it down because I think his animations are pretty amazing. So let's look. Let's watch this. Okay, so he's got a hammer, but he doesn't really use it like a hammer. He sort of launches. You see that? That's pretty cool. Now watch his A2 here. He'll like shoot out a little thing, and then when he either dies or he does his stuff, he'll get his bam, then hit everybody. Then he'll come back around and do his little launchy thing again. Oh no, he's got to kill somebody. Then he'll get extra turn. Now comes the launchy thing. Bop, bop, bop. So pretty cool, right? So if you do that all together and you let him run fast, I think he's about a 10-second campaign farmer, which is pretty good. I mean, you can't really complain about that. So, I might use him for that just because I just love the animation. So it's a little longer because I slowed him down on that first one. So really the only other place I think I would probably use him would be in my Faction Wars team. I don't like the idea that your debuffer is also your damage because he doesn't get to take advantage of the debuff he places. So it'd be nice maybe if he put the defense down first and then attacked, or I mean maybe you just forget about his damage output and just let him, I don't know. But here, this is what I like to do. I'll take them to Doom Tower hard, put him with his Faction War team, which I did here. I put Trund in the lead just to give some attack in all battles. Some of them have Faction War auras, and some of them have Doom Tower auras. So I didn't want to take advantage of that. So we'll see how he does. He does great. I mean, he runs around and defense is down and does a bunch of damage. And so this is really a pretty good team. So there he got his defense down. She put the provoke on him. So they, the enemies never really get a chance to do much. Now, also, the dwarves are not lacking in big damage dealers, right? Trunda and Mountain King, and even Brogni does some pretty serious damage. I also like this new guy, this Geomancer guy, just because his turn meter control is just ridiculous. So there's his damage. And but again, he doesn't get to take advantage of it because he is launching into full damage characters, gets the damage on him, and then everybody else sort of gets to take advantage of the work he's done. So I kind of wish, yeah, he got to take a little more advantage of his own debuffing. But what are you gonna do? And you hate to put him. I mean, especially with dwarves, there's not really another dwarf that does defense down like and possibly with the weaken as well. So we'll let this run and then we'll see the damage he did. It's pretty good. You'll see, not quite as much as Trunda, but he's right up there. And I bet if Trunda did defense down and he got to take advantage of it, he'd do pretty well as well. So again, I'm not. It's a cool champ. If you're early on looking for a defense down champ that does some damage, he's kind of like Abyss, right? Doesn't hit as hard as Abyss, but kind of the same deal where he's got some AoE defense down where he's also doing a bunch of damage. But it's, I'd give him a B. I'd give him a B. He'll be on my Faction War team just because he's the only one that does defense down and weaken on the Dwarf faction. But other than that, I don't really see where I'd put him. So, hey, I hope you liked the video. Let me know your thoughts on this champion. Love to hear it. Love to hear about your polls this weekend. And we'll see you next time.